Hey, and welcome back to another Learning Java 2D game programming video. So in our last video, we introduced sceneries to our map generation. So now our map generator also places trees and lamps. So we could keep improving on this, but I feel like it's at least good enough now that we can start with our new game mode. So we're going to have an endless game mode. So we're going to start with probably a very small generated map, and then you're going to play on that map. And when you win, you move on to a bigger map with more people. So that's how that's going to work. And so let's put this generation functionality to use. But the first thing that I'm going to do is, as you can see here, these bodies of water can be quite large. And when we have a large map like this, it's not really a large problem. But if we have a somewhat smaller map, then it might divide the land into two separate islands. And currently we don't have code to handle that. So we can come back in the future and fix that. But just to be able to move on, I'm going to make my pool size smaller so that there's less of a risk that these islands actually form. So let's start by heading over to the map generator. And I'm just going to press Control F and find grow patches. So here and down here, this is basically the patch size. So let's just mark that and refactor introduce constant. I'm going to say patch size. So that way we can set it from up here. So I'm just going to say 3 instead. So if we try this out again, you should see that the bodies of water are much smaller now, and there'll probably be more of them because they don't grow together. So this is what that made. And there are still stuff that we need to fix here, but let's move on with today's topic and come back to these things. All right, but if you press generate a few times, you can see that there are more but smaller bodies of water, and I feel like this is good enough. So let's make the endless game state. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop over to the state package and to the game package, and then I'm going to make a new package inside. So this will be a sub-state, basically, of the game state. So I'm going to call this endless, the package, and inside of the endless package, I'm going to make a endless game state. All right, and here I'm going to extend game state. Let's create a constructor matching super. So what is the big difference that we want to do here, really? Well, the big difference is instead of loading a specific map like we do here, we want to generate it. So after we set stuff up, I mean, it sets up this render settings stuff and a game menu and timer, and we might need to change the game menu actually a little bit, but the timer and stuff. So after we've done all that, which is fine, let's just switch out the game map that we loaded and make that a map generator. Generate, it needs a new size, the map size. How many tiles should it be? I'm going to make the start map quite small. I'm going to say maybe 8 by 8 tiles, like really small. And then it wants the sprite library, right? So there we go. Now it should load a new map. But the thing is, in load game map, if we pop over here, it says game objects clear, which means that it will erase all of our NPCs and our players. So we need to re-add those. All right, so inside the game state, let's find initialize characters. And we could possibly make this protected. And maybe we could even take in here, like, how many NPCs, number of NPCs, and in number of sick. And let's just switch out this. Number of NPCs, number of sick. So this way we need to pass that in here. We had 50 and 5, right? So now this is the same, but since we made that protected, we can just use initialize characters. And here, let's start with something small, like just 10 NPCs, and only one is sick, right? So let's go to the menu state first. Almost forgot. So this isn't going to happen on its own. When we set the next state on our play button, let's set it to an endless game state instead. And let's try this out. All right, so as you can see, we have a very small map. It is auto-generated, and people are walking around here, and everything is working out fine. But it doesn't look great that it's here at the right bottom. So what I'd like to do is, if the map is very small, let's put it in the center. So to do that, we need to head over to the display camera. And here in the update, if we have an object with focus present, we set it to that object. But let's, after that, say if, and let's really see here. We want to know if the game map size is less than the camera's size. So if state get game map gets width is less than window size get width, well, then we want to set the camera's position to half of its width back. So say that we are starting at 0, then we want to subtract half of the width. That will put the game map right in the center, but it will start from the center. So we also then have to add half of the game map width. Maybe we can say position set x, window size get width divided by 2 plus, let's say 2f here, plus state get game map get width divided by 2 minus. Yeah. As I said, we want to subtract this. So minus this plus that. All right, so that worked. So we just need to do that with the height as well. All right, so get height, window size get height, and get height. And of course set y. All right, so that should have centered our little game map. And it did. And so great. All right, but this is all fine and dandy, and we got our little game state and our little guys walking around, and this one was the sick one. Now we finished. So we want to change these buttons, right? Now when we won, we don't want to end the game. We want to have like a next level button. So go to next level, and maybe also an exit level if you want to give up. And we probably don't want the resume button, to be honest. So we're probably not going to reuse the same menu here like we do for the others. So next level or exit, that's what I'm thinking. And when we press next level, we're just going to move on to a bigger level with more NPCs, a harder level, which means we need a way to do that. So first of all, I'm going to actually override win. And we need to make that protected in order for that to happen. So I'm also just going to copy this entire thing so I can see what it is that we are doing. Protected. Let's override it. And we do playing false. We do game timer as seconds. We apply that to the score, which is fine. And then we toggle this menu, which we probably want a different menu now. So let's not use that menu. And instead, inside of this endless state, let's make a new package, not a new fxml file, but a new package. I'm going to make the UI package for here. And I'm gonna copy what's in this menu because I'm just gonna make sort of a variant of this. So I'm gonna call this the endless win menu UI, maybe. Well, we usually put this in the beginning. So the UI endless win menu. All right, so this will probably extend vertical container. I'm just gonna paste this in here, switch out the name for the constructor. There. So what is it that we're doing here really? We have a header content container, which could absolutely contain this, all of this. So let's just cut that out and go to your UI endless win menu. And to this header content, string value of score, and we don't have that in here. So let's just take in score and header content dot add content. So that should be fine. And now we didn't want the resume one. We want a next level, which will go to another endless game state. And we're gonna need a way to tell this endless game state how should it differ next time. Currently we don't have that, so I'm just gonna check why it is unhappy. All right, there we go. Or we could exit the system. All right, we don't need that. All right, so going here, we need to make playing at least protected, and game timer also protected. Great. Now let's do UI canvas, add UI component, new UI endless win menu. And it needs the input, the game settings, and the score. And we don't have the score, so let's make it protected. All right. Now if we win, then at least we should get a specific menu for the endless game state, which can take us to a new endless game state. Currently, it's going to have the same settings. And as you can see, we need to change where we spawn. So it was great that that happened. We cannot move now because we're in an unwalkable tile, so this should never happen. So let's go to our player and not do that. I'm just going to press shift twice so we can search among files. So I'm going to go to the player entity and not perform a walk-in direction. And I mean, let's probably not do a set position either. So we're doing this from the outside now, really. Let's find the game state and where we initialize the characters. Here we initialize the players. So just like we are doing for the NPC, let's just do that for the player as well. So we get a random available position. There we go. So at least that shouldn't happen. All right, so that's us. Let's see if we can find who's sick. This guy is sick. All right, so now we have a button that says next level and one that says exit. So if we press next level right now, it should probably just generate a new level for us. And it did. So we moved on. That's great. But currently everything is reset. So we'd like for something to happen. We'd like the settings to change for the map generation. And we'd also like to keep the score, right? So that's something that we're going to do. And I'm just going to check on the time. Okay, 16 minutes. Not too bad. Let's fix these things. So our endless game state is going to need more information. So we are going to make like an endless, let's make an inner class. So I'm going to say public static class Maybe let's just call this settings, because when it's an inner class, we're going to have to call it by saying endless GameState dot settings anyway. So I think this will be fine. All right, so what do we need the settings to keep? Well, we'd like to know what size it should be. Let's make private size map size. Let's also keep a private int level, maybe a private int score, which is the score that we come in with. Let's see, is there, yeah, sure. Let's private int number of NPCs. And my question is, maybe we don't take the number of sick NPCs in, but instead always have it be like 10%. And that might be too hard once you get up to large levels. We will see. But let's do this for now. So I'm just going to say alt insert, make a constructor, take everything in. I'm also going to go to the bottom, say alt insert, and create getters for everything. All right. So great. I think we have what we need. Let's just make the settings. And when we do this, we say settings get map size and settings get number of NPCs. Settings get number of NPCs divided by 10. Let's try that. And also let's set this dot score. We can just say score probably. Let's set score to settings get score. So there are a couple of places that will be sad now. So let's find those places. One will be the main menu here, the UI main menu, where we now have to pass along something else. I'm just going to create some space here and really do this, separate these on their own lines so it's a little easier to read, because this is getting very long and it's going to get longer. So there we go. And now we do new. So endless GameState.settings. So this is how an inner class would work. And then we give it a map size. So this will be the initial size. So let's give it the one that we have. So I'm going to say 8 by 8. And then it wanted, let's see, the level, the score, and the number of NPCs. So I'm going to say 1 and 0 and 10. So this is how we're initializing our first game map. But then when we win, here, UI endless win menu, we want the next one to have more stuff. So let's see, in here, we know that this state is an endless game state currently. We need to know that to be able to fetch the settings. So I'm just going to make this a block. I'm going to open up curly braces so that we can say endless game state, endless game state. Actually, we could probably just even get the settings out. Dot settings, previous game settings. Is that too long? Let's just say settings. We know by context what we mean. All right, so endless game state dot settings is equal to, and let's cast the state to an endless game state, and then get the game. Do we have those? Get. I don't think we do. We need to make a getter for it. All right, so I'm just gonna put it under here. I'm gonna say alt insert. Then we of course need to save that. So let's do that. Let's save a copy of this settings. And let's not call it game settings because we already have something like that. Endless game settings. All right, good. Let's do it like that for now. And we need a getter. So I'm just going to say alt insert, make a getter for our endless game settings. There. Now we can get it. There we go. So now we can create a new one. A new endless game state dot settings. And I'm going to say new size and say settings, get map size, get width, and let's say +5. So we always just add 5 tiles. Get height +5. Maybe we need to make these on separate rows as well. This is also going to grow quite large. So there we go. What else do we need? We want the level, the score, and the number of NPCs. So the level will be the settings, get level +1. The score will be the actually state, get score. Yep, that's the one that we're coming in with. And the number of NPCs, let's do settings, get number of NPCs, and let's just add like 10 or something. So there we go. Now we pass new settings into our endless game state. And I'm just gonna separate these a little bit. All right, let's just try this out. I'm gonna run the game. All right, so here's the first one. And we are down here. And we isolated that. So when we press next level, we are hoping for a larger level where we keep the score. And that is what we got. And there are 2 sick people. So I'm just gonna see if I can, that's the one. Here's another. Awesome. And so it added the score and we're keeping it. All right, so now it's getting so large that we can actually move up and down here on our map. All right, so over there is one as well. All right. All right, and like this, you can keep going. So we probably want to create a separate sort of game state for, or sorry, score state for this endless game state, because we want to display more information now. All right, we won. Okay, and also I know I'm cheating, so I keep this on because it's so hard to find them otherwise, and we might need to do something about that. But that's part of the difficulty of this game. So I'm just going to see what happens. As you can see, it's starting to sort of jag a little bit. There you can see it. So what this is actually the pathfinding algorithm. So the algorithm itself is quite fast, but we need to optimize it a little bit. So when we first did it, I always try to do the simplest thing first, not the most performant thing first, so that the code is as readable and easy as possible. If we just pop over there, I'm just going to tell you what I mean. So here we have this static find path, which means that we take a position, start, and a target, and a game map. So whenever we find a path, we build the entire node map, and we create those objects and give them some place in the memory, and then we use them, and then at some point we are done and they get cleaned up by the garbage collector and all of that. So all of this, when we have a small map, when we don't have a lot of NPCs, this doesn't really impact our performance. But the larger our maps are going to get, the more NPCs that we're going to get, the more of these node objects it needs to create and then destroy and create and destroy and create and destroy. And eventually you're going to notice. So that means that we are now at the point where we need to optimize a little bit. And that will come at the cost of less readable code. That's why I always want to wait until it's a problem. So never optimize for performance before you know where you're going to need it. But we are going to need it in here. So that's going to be for our next video. We are at 26 minutes. So for our next video, we are probably going to make this a little better. Also, we're going to create another score state, an endless score state, where we can also see what level we got to, And I guess that's it. The score and the level we got to. All right. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you soon. Hej då.